Hi, Empower Your Relationship members. It's Deborah. I just wanted to pop in the group real quick. I received an email earlier from someone who's across the world and could not be on our call last night. And she sent me some really good questions. So I thought instead of just privately answering her, I'm going to share these questions with you and with everyone and share the answers because I think it's really important, especially during this time. I mean, we've all had that kind of feeling of, am I ever going to meet someone? And am I, should I give up? And then times like this, you question what's the future. And so a lot of us are looking in deeply, asking ourselves, what's next? How do I date in these times? Should I hold off on dating until later on? Or is this the best time to date? And my answer has always been yes, this is the best time. This is probably the most ripest, the most richest, the most open hearted time to find great love. And here's why it's because people are they're not as distracted. I mean, they may be a little distracted what's going on, but deep within us, what are we really searching for right now? What are we really looking for? We're really looking for a peace of mind. We're looking for love and connection. It's been taken away from a lot of us, isolated and quarantined, um, and so people are really realizing how important relationships are in their life, how they need relationships if they don't have any. A lot of you are home alone and thinking, geez, I wish I had someone to share with. So one of my clients said yesterday, you're so lucky you have Rob. You two can go through this together. And so I know that there's a lot of men out there that feel the same way. They're saying, where's my woman? Where's my dream woman? I think it's time. And I think in times like this of upheaval, we're shaken up from our patterns. We're forced to look at things differently. I'd say a lot of people who don't do personal development are going right into fear. But I think that a lot of people like you that are doing personal development are actually really well prepared for this. And you have tools to work with your mind. You understand the power that you have to create and change your destiny. And it's challenged right now. Do I have power? Am I just a victim of this world, or am I a conscious being that can create my own reality? All these questions are now coming to the surface for you, and you do have the tools to work with them. So I just want to say, if you're not out there online dating or being in Facebook groups with other singles, finding virtual meetups to meet people, there's a ton of virtual stuff happening right now. So all you introverts, it's a great opportunity to basically shake up your dating routine and meeting people routine and really start seeing something new. And maybe you've been putting off dating. Maybe you've been saying, my job is taking too much time away from me. And now you're working from home. You're finding you have more time. Perfect time. Now you have a little extra time, maybe an hour a day that you can put yourself out there. And so number one, it's probably the ripest time for love right now for you. So use this as an opportunity to break through your patterns, break through your fears about opening your heart, because this is the time to do it. Here's the question. The first question is, how can I really allow the best people and men into our lives now? And when you say best people, you're making the assumption that the other people are separate from you. You will always attract into your life people who reflect how you feel about yourself. So if you want to have the best people show up for you and the best men show up for you, you have to really, we were talking about this on our call last night, change that self-identity that you're bringing into the dating process. That old you, that old pattern isn't who you're bringing into the dating process. You're bringing in a higher version of yourself, your true self, who you really are, basically, not the mask. And that higher self is actually going to bring in the best. So you're always in control of who you're attracting. It's not about, I have to be in a certain place or say a certain thing on my profile. It's very internal. It's what is in your mind is going to show up out there. That's what the shadow work shows us. And as long as we're in our rigid persona patterns, we are going to get the same results. So the best work you can do right now is do the shadow work and also start to really see an image of yourself that's completely new. Who do you want to step into? This shake-up in our world is giving us a great opportunity to let go of our rigid tunnel vision way of seeing ourselves in the world. It's basically challenging everything. So it's a perfect time to reinvent yourself and say, this is who I'm going to be right now. I'm going to be unashamed. I'm going to be courageous and brave. And this is who I am. I am a woman who's loved. I'm a woman who attracts the best people. I'm treated great. I'm respected and loved. And that's the type of person I am. And you just have to kind of create that image in your mind. And the meditations will help you with that, create that vision. But remember, you're not really focused. I think a lot of other love coaching focuses on that ideal person. What he looks like, and what is he like, and what is he doing? I think if you focus on yourself and your ideal, you be the ideal person, you're going to see that show up in your life. And then the dating process will reveal where you're off base. It's just out there meeting people. Disappointments, setbacks are all showing you where you're off base from your true self. So any type of trigger, any type of upset is showing you where you're off base. It's not that you're doing things wrong, but you're just having a misperception of who you are. You're using a false sense of who you are to bring into the dating process, a limited aspect of who you are. So that's how you can do it right now. You step into it. The second question is, why does it's so difficult that after 2 decades, why do we keep repeating the past? Great question. We talked about this last night, but I want to just underscore the power of the ego. The power of survival is so deep within us. When we go to an emergency room, if you went to an emergency room, the first thing they would do is preserve the core of the body. So if you had an accident and you broke your leg and you had internal bleeding, they would address the internal bleeding first, because that's the core. Your leg, maybe it gets cut off, but you're not focused on, the whole body at that point. You're focused on, how do I survive? How do I keep my heart beating? And so that's how the ego works. It looks at what's the critical, most important thing to keep this woman alive and safe. And your ego sees social rejection as death. I'm going to repeat that. The ego sees social rejection as death. And that's why we create a persona. That's why we push things that we don't like about ourselves or about qualities of other human beings into our shadow, because it's about that self-preservation, that ego mind. And that mechanism is very powerful. And if left unconscious, we end up, just keeping the patterns that it set up. The ego set up a survival kit for us. And so it sets up the survival kit, attract the same kind of people. The one thing about the ego is it settles for mediocre. The ego takes, not too good. It doesn't want you to be too happy, and it doesn't want you to be too sad. So it kind of keeps you in this very mediocre existence. And we all live that, like a famous poet, I can't remember who it was, that we all live quiet lives, lives of quiet desperation. And that's basically the ego. It's that ego mind. If you think what this situation is happening in the world has taught us is taking us out of the status quo, freaks people out. We prefer the status quo. I bet you a lot of people are just looking right now how to survive. No one's really thinking about, how do I create something new and how do I live my dreams? They're thinking, I got to survive right now. And so that's what the ego does. And it's been doing it our whole lives. So nothing's changed. It's still operating. And it's to the ego, it's painful to change. And so the ego wants you to go toward pleasure and avoid pain. And we're going to be talking about karma in our call, our spiritual course tomorrow. So you really pay attention to that one. We're going to talk about karma. And so it's avoiding pain. And so it will come up with excuses. You get busy with work, distractions, or you try something to get, or you get into a relationship. And you're thinking, how many times have you gotten in a relationship or you started dating someone and you knew in the back of your mind, this guy's not all that great. He's already not sticking to what I want. And you have that nagging feeling, but all this chemistry and you're alone and you don't want to be single anymore. So you kind of stick with that. That's the ego. That's what keeps us in the pattern. It just says, this is good enough. And so that's why it's so hard to change, because change is painful to the ego. Now, the reason we work with the emotion is because, and we sit with the uncomfortable emotion, is to desensitize us. Well, not desensitize us, but detox that perception of pain in these emotions. And so when we do that, you don't have to understand how that works and the whole mechanism of consciousness and how it shifts, but you just do your part. Do the exercise of sitting with the uncomfortable emotion. Be willing to stand in that discomfort. And that is going to kind of break detox, where you just kind of, you take your body, like when you've ever done a detox for health, it's not comfortable. You can't eat sugar, and you drink lots of water, and a lot of stuff happens during a detox, and so it's not comfortable, but it's actually cleansing you. And so it's almost like that way with the emotion. We're purifying the emotion, because all it is pure energy, and taking the gunk around the outside, the ego's perceptions and judgments and stories, and we're really becoming more free. So that's why it's so important. And that's why we're stuck, because our ego will always default to the most comfortable place, the place of least resistance. And so we do it automatically. And when we're not conscious of it, it does repeat the pattern. So that's why it's so hard to change. The third question, what's the easiest way to break this toxic cycle? And actually, I just answered that too. It's working with that emotion. It seems so silly for a lot of you that maybe, why does Debbie and Rob say, sit with the emotion, sit with the emotion, sit with the emotion? Why does she keep saying that? And it's a think about if your whole life and your whole ego structure was based on avoiding discomfort. To keep avoiding discomfort will keep the pattern. When you sit with the uncomfortable emotion, you're actually almost, you're basically shifting that pattern, because the pattern is hooked in emotionally. It's not a logical thinking thing, change your thoughts, change your life. That's great. But the root of the change happens emotionally. And I told you my story about me kind of sitting with the feeling, what if I never meet anyone? Actually had a client tell me that she did the same thing, and she's completely had a huge revelation from that, and freedom, and the anxiety lifted from her. Again, we're not saying that we want to create that. We're not saying that we want to put that out there that, we're not going to meet anyone, but we want to get rid of the fear of that, because the fear of that is actually what keeps us stuck. So we have to detox that fear. And so by sitting with it, we're taking our higher mind, and we're basically, just by witnessing it, there's this, think of it as like a laser beam, like a light from your higher consciousness, divine light, going into that emotion and breaking apart the muck. It's like kind of a laser, kind of getting rid of all the muckiness. And you can even do that with your mind if it feels okay to imagine that my higher consciousness, and you set the intention, is purifying this, is making me see that this is nothing to fear. This is a false fear. And when you're not afraid of it anymore, you stop giving your mind so much energy defending it. And when you're not defending it anymore, it stops being real. So that, and again, you don't have to completely believe, like I always say, 51%. I didn't leave my meditation of I'm never going to meet anyone thinking, well, I'm totally cured now. But it did lift the edge off. It did lift that pushing away of it. That was enough to shift me. And of course I thought about it still, and it was in my mind, and it was still there, but it wasn't as intense. And what we want to do is just reduce the intensity so it doesn't blind us and keep us so stuck that we're so afraid to reach out and say, you know what, I really care about you and I want to see you more, or say hello to someone, or respond. Go put yourself online if you've never been online. Be willing to choose someone that before your ego said, no, they're too big, they're out of my league, or dismiss someone who you judge on a superficial way, like maybe, he's the wrong age, or he's in the wrong business, and, watching your mind just judge people. Be more open, more free to just explore and get that edge away. And we're doing it without that urgency, that, oh my God, I have to make this happen. I got to find someone in 30 days or I'm going to, lose everything. You want to have that gentleness. You want to have that openness. And that's what working with the emotion does. It takes that toxicity away from that anxiety of trying to make it happen. Because it's really, if you want to visualize having love in your life, and then you're doing that, plus you have anxiety about not having it, it's like having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. So working with the emotion, just kind of, I know it sounds so weird just sitting with it, but not buying into it, it's going to give you so much information. You could still visualize every day. I really recommend that. Visualize every day what you want to create, but specifically, I want you to visualize who you are becoming. Who is the person, the true love persona that's emerging? Who is she? How does she act? What does she do on dates? How does she talk to people? What kind of people does she relate to? What does she not tolerate anymore? Who is that brilliant, brave, courageous, lovable woman, the true warrior you, that's going to step into this world? And really, it's like reaching your hand out and saving one man at a time, because they need us more than we need them. The men need us right now more than ever. They don't know how to deal with their emotions. They don't know how to talk about things. They don't know how to, get into that emotion. They've been conditioned to shut everything down. So we, being open-hearted, we're going to invite them into our world. We're going to invite them into this beautiful, vulnerable love that we have to offer. And it's going to really fill their life as well. So I want you to know how much power you have to bring into the world. It's not about putting the man on a pedestal and trying to attain him. They should be fighting for you. You should be having that attitude of you're in demand. They should be fighting for you. You should have 3 or 4 guys following you right now and just being like, please love me. Like, I want what you have. I want to be a part of this. I want to create something with you. That's the kind of attitude we need to have. I want you to think about this as a reset for your love life right now. You're resetting. Think about everything that's happening in the world right now is a reset for your love life. You are going to see a difference if you see it as a reset. Let go of all the past experiences. Don't even think about the same thing's going to happen again. Set an intention that my dating experience is going to be completely fresh, completely new, completely empowered. And I believe with all my heart that you can change this really quickly. It's such an amazing opportunity. So if I'll be on for a couple more minutes. Do you have any questions before I go? I felt this need to share this with you today. And when I got this email, I said, I got to go on and just share this little extra tidbit from woman to woman and give you hope. This is really an amazing time. You're really going to see something amazing happen in your life. And just be open to it. Be open to that. We're also going to be talking about love on our Saturday soul sessions in our main group. So make sure you tune into that. But does anyone have any questions? I know we probably just all sitting there receiving. Hello. Are you all motivated? Are you all ready to take the next step? Step out, think about, I would make a list. Here's a kind of a fun tactical thing to do. Make a list of all the things you were afraid of pre-corona to do when it comes to dating. Just make a list I didn't like doing this. I didn't like doing that. Just activities, just actions. Not like I didn't like having sex or something like that. Well, you could say that, but that's not going to happen very soon. We don't think, but maybe in a couple weeks. Think about those things that you would not do. So maybe you never went online dating. Maybe you never joined a Facebook group with single people. Maybe you never joined a meetup group with single people. Maybe you, obviously you're all doing love coaching. So that's something great that you have coaching right now to help you. Reach out to your coaches if you need extra support. But write down some of the things that you would be afraid to do. And I challenge you to try one thing to break through your comfort zone. And remember, you're not doing it just to do the challenge. You want to do it as a new person. You want to do it as, who is this image of your true love persona? And I want you to step out and say, my true love persona is going to go online now and I'm going to try it. And you're going to work with resistance. You're going to work with the triggers that show up. I mean, online dating is going to trigger you. It's okay. It's more information. It's more freedom. So don't be afraid to get triggered right now. So do that, and tell us what you did over the next week or so. Tell us what you did for this challenge to just step out of your comfort zone and do something different. Okay, here's a question. I'm experiencing that some men are anxious and worried and pull back from dating since they're in survival mode. Knowing this is that's showing my mind, I'm thinking that maybe that's not the time to prioritize love. How to work with this? So you're choosing men that want to step back. So that says that you want to step back, that you're overwhelmed. So I want you to look at that. Look at the idea of being overwhelmed and anxious and worried, and how that is happening in you, and work with that. And then you have to go out there, and you're going to, if you're not putting so much energy into that, you're not going to see that out there. You're going to see men that are open. One of our clients just told us last night she had a fabulous date. Virtual date on Zoom or Skype. She said it was great. So he lives in another country right now, but he was, because they're all in quarantine, but he lives in the town that she's from, and they're just getting to know each other. And she said, it's so much easier because it's not this pressure. We got to meet and we got to see each other in person. It's like you could take it slow and we can get to know each other. So I would just say that your mind's going to filter out what you believe. So when you go online and you're interacting, you're going to see what you see your mind. So work with that. Great question. I'm always so happy to see your videos pop up. I've been eerily calm this week. And today I had an interview. Ali mentioned the other day, I was really nervous, but happy. And I remembered you throughout. My fear did not disappear, but I don't think it managed me. Great. Yes. This is not about not being afraid. This is not about not being stressed out. This is not about not being anxious. We're going to have those things. We don't want to push them away. We want to acknowledge them. We're human beings. There's a pandemic happening. We want to make sure that we're not letting those things drive our decisions, drive our happiness. We want to pay attention to them. We don't want to push them away, but we want to see them and acknowledge, you know what, you should, it's okay that you feel this way, little ego. From your perspective, you should be anxious. You see this stuff that's happening. Of course you're going to feel that way. And it takes that sting out of it. It takes that pressure to be positive all the time. So yes, that's a great thing. And really, you can't have courage without fear. You cannot have courage unless you have fear. And changing your patterns in love, you have to face fear. You have to face some kind of fear and ultimately, this is the bottom line. You're only afraid of a sensation in your body. You're only afraid of having a sensation in your body. So if you're not afraid of having a sensation in your body, if you're not afraid of that, little butterflies in your stomach or the pressure in your chest or the weight on your shoulders or the kind of nervousness, it's a nervous energy flowing through your body. If you're not afraid of that, then you're really powerful. You could still have that sensation in your body, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be afraid of it. And what happens though is we have these sensations in our body, and then our mind starts telling stories about why we're having this sensation, which intensifies the sensation. And then we make it feel like the external is causing the sensation, but we are. And that's really, we just don't want to be uncomfortable. That's it. That's our whole life is built on not being uncomfortable. And so if you can face a little discomfort, you have the keys to the world. You have the keys to love. You have the keys to money. You have the keys to health if you are not afraid of the sensations in your body. And the mind can create a calmness in the body. You don't need external to change to do that. And so if you can really watch your mind, again, we're not suppressing those feelings, but we're seeing them and digesting them. And like I said, detoxing them from the stories, you start to see that it's just energy flowing. And then you have a nervous moment and you're like, oh, that's just my energy. That's just my body being anxious right now. That's not me. Or the body I'm in is feeling nervous. But I am not nervous. The body in me is reacting this way. So you kind of create a separation. So yes, that's a great comment about the fear. All right. I think that's no more questions. Thank you so much. Feel free to post later if you're watching this on the replay, and I and the mentors will be in to answer your questions and dig deeper. But just wanted to share this with you and let you know that my heart's with you, and I believe in you, and we're going to all get through this, and we're going to get through this in ways that we probably never thought we would. We're going to find love in the most unpredictable times. And so remember that, maybe make a mantra. Finding love in the most unpredictable times is the best time to shake up your life. Take care, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your afternoon or morning. Well, I guess it's afternoon in most parts of the world. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.